Hello. This is going to be fun because I have never used this technology. So hopefully everyone is going to be patient, but I don't think anyone is quite here yet. It would be cool if I could see if there are people here. When you come in, please put a comment, put a note in the comments, and let us know where you're from. When you join, put a note in the comments and tell us where you're joining from. It's also the only way I'll see if there's anyone here because I'm doing this through StreamYard and I've never done it before. And I'm running it by myself. So hopefully everybody's patient. In exchange for your patience, you're going to get my full transparency. Like I have advertised, this is an Ask Me Anything and no topic is off limits. And if you've ever looked at my content or if you see me commenting out in the wild in LinkedIn, you'll see that I'm very often correcting misinformation. And I do it so much that I thought it would be a great idea to hold a weekly session where I can clarify some of this misinformation, set job seekers straight. Hey, Dan, how are you? Awesome. I wish I were in Ocean County, New Jersey right now. Hey, Kim, joining from Raleigh. Great to see you. But thank you again for your patience. This is my first live stream on LinkedIn. It's also my first time using StreamYard. And this is what messy action looks like, folks. It looks like just jumping out and doing it because if I wait for it to be perfect, I never will. So this is what we're doing. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to wait a couple minutes to let people come on in. As I mentioned before, when you join, drop a note in the comments. It's the only way I know that there's anyone here. And just say where you're joining from. Hey, Lavanya. India. Awesome. Very cool. Wonderful. Wow. That's even more exciting. So, like I said, no topic is off limits. I will answer anything, and I'm going to do it with a little bit of humor and a lot of transparency. That's my style, straight, no chaser, no fluff, no pretty lies. I'm going to tell you sometimes the hard truth, but with the intention of being able to be more strategic in your search. There are a lot of interesting things happening in the job market, a lot of changing happening. And I want to help people adapt because it very much is possible, but it very much is about mindset and perception. And very often, a lot of these conversations on LinkedIn are happening without context and nuance. And when you leave out the context and the nuance, it becomes engagement bait or rage bait. And it also ends up being bad information for people who genuinely need guidance. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm certainly not doing it because I like to see myself on screen. In fact, the cringe factor is pretty high for me. So bear with me. Also, let me introduce myself. So I'm Lori Golden. I've been in the recruiting and hiring space for 27 plus years. It's pretty much all I've ever done, really, except for a couple companies that I'm working on building now, but we'll leave those to the side. But anyway, in my 27 years, I've spent a lot of time on the agency side as the headhunter, if you will, the person who gets paid by a company to place people and find the right candidates. And then I spent 15 years in-house as a corporate recruiter, primarily in and around very fast growing tech startups. I really love that environment of deep ownership, building things. I'm not one to manage the machine, but I love to build it. So that gives me some interesting perspective. And I've spent a lot of time out on LinkedIn, like I said, correcting misinformation for the last several years. So, and I've got, a whole crew of awesome recruiters out there who are also doing resume writing, career coaching, a lot of pro bono coaching. I do pro bono coaching, all kinds of things to help prevent frustrated job seekers from taking the bait with the grifters and paying large sums of money for things that aren't going to help you out. So That's why I exist out here. Couple caveats. I'm very informal. If you haven't already figured that out, that's not going to change. Um, I sometimes have a little bit of colorful language when I'm passionate about things. I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but that probably also won't change. Like I said, I'll answer almost anything if it's appropriate. And I can't do much about barking dogs. You may hear dogs in the background. I have 2 dogs. One's a puppy. As much as I would like to try and control his voice, I cannot. And so bear with me. I do have the sound reduction headphones, so hopefully that won't be an issue. If you have any trouble hearing me or anything, please do note that in the comments and I'll do something about it. Here's how this format goes. So when you any question, topic, anything you want me to talk about, there is no scheduled programming. This is totally coffee chat. Here's my coffee. Ask me anything. So I need you guys to actually put questions in the comments. The juicier, tougher, more controversial the topic is, the more I'll enjoy answering it. But I'll answer anything. I mean, anything. It could be about resumes. It could be about applying for jobs. It could be about different types of companies and industries. Even though my experience is pretty much smaller tech companies, I can very much see the question and the topic from lots of perspectives. So I understand how a large company recruiter might be thinking about the topic versus a small company recruiter. Again, I have a lot of perspectives and opinions unapologetically. So throw questions out there for me so we can jump into this and give people the guidance they need. Again, there's nothing off limits. So ask me anything. I do also have a couple of comments. I mean, a couple of topics I already have ready to go. If no one asks anything, I figured there was the possibility that people might join and not actually ask questions, which would make it harder and then ask me anything with no, no formal programming. But I do have some topics. So a couple of the topics that I have, and maybe this will jog some questions for you guys. So we can always talk about the ATS and all the misconceptions around what the ATS does. We could talk about that till the cows come home. Happy to talk about how to answer and broach, tell me about yourself in an interview. I know we all hate that question, but still being prepared to answer it's a good idea. Also, another one we don't like, but you should be prepared to answer is the why do you want to work here question. So I'm happy to jump into those if that's helpful. We can talk about my perspective on AI one-way interviews and what the upsides and downsides might be on that. We can talk about resume optimization and what that actually means and how it's kind of a grift and keywords and getting your resume through the ATS, which isn't really a thing. Oh, cool. Dan has a question. Wonderful. Because otherwise I was just going to ramble. So, all right, Dan. So I'm going to put the question up on the screen. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So how does a job seeker best navigate AI-enabled ATS while hoping a real person reviews their resume? Awesome question. Let me give you a little bit of context first before I answer the question. So an AI-enabled ATS doesn't mean much on its face. So at best, in the screening candidates process, AI at best today can kind of sort or rank candidates based on their, their fitness to the job description, how many of the requirements you fit, how closely aligned you are to what we're looking for. Contrary to popular belief, that is far more than just keywords. It's not just about keywords. Stuffing a bunch of random keywords in your resume isn't the answer to this. So at best, AI does sometimes in some ATSs, and not all of them, and not even most of them, sort and rank. What does that mean? It doesn't mean if you're ranked last out of 1,000 candidates, I can still see you. I can still see your resume. I can still choose to review your resume. I may not. In the event that I get, 50 qualified candidates higher not make it to the 1,000th candidate. But there's this idea that the AI powered or AI enabled ATS actually filters out applicants. It does not do that. There is no autonomous decision making happening with AI. Not today, not yet. And if it was, most of us wouldn't use it. A lot of us don't even respect the sorting and ranking that does exist within these systems. I mean, I often, have checked on one of the lower ranked candidates, and sometimes it really does miss things. It doesn't great at nuance, so it may not see the transferable skills. It may not understand a role that's very similar but called something different. Let me give you an example of that. So there's a role that's like a solutions engineer, also a pre-sales engineer, also a technical services there's 1,000 different names for the person who does the technical demoing or whiteboarding or architecting of a solution. They come in usually early in the sales process, sometimes post sales as well, but there's a lot of different names for that individual. Very similar skill set though. You're technical and salesy in nature, and thus you're probably a good fit for this. Well, that one isn't necessarily, AI isn't going to score and rank that well if you have an interesting title that doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of alignment sense. So that's kind of the background of what AI actually can do. So I think that when we talk about AI enabled ATS, I think it's important that we understand what that baseline is that we're talking about. And that is sorting and ranking technology. It's algorithmic in nature. Keywords are part of it, but that's not all of it. It also recognizes similar companies, similar products, things like that. Okay. So how does a job seeker best navigate it? The same way that you would navigate any other system. Write your resume for a human, because humans are making the ultimate decision. We're the ones screening. Despite the AI ranking or sorting, we're the ones making decisions based on your resume. So write for a human. One of the complaints I see a lot of is all resumes now sound all the same because they're all AI, generated. I think there are great ways to use AI to help you with your resume. I don't think having it produce it from scratch entirely and then submitting it is the best use for that. So again, how does a job seeker best navigate it? The same way we've always navigated it. Write for a person. Get really proactive about your search. So here are the things within your control. Get proactive about your search. Know exactly what you're looking for. Don't apply to everything. There's this mindset that job applying is a numbers game. The more I apply, the higher my chances are of getting response. Like technically that's true, but actually what I've seen is that the quality of your applicant declines the more you apply. So if you get really niche, narrow focused on what you're looking for and put high effort into those, less applicants, more effort and time, that's a better return from what I've seen. So I hope that's sort of helpful. Hoping a real person reviews your resume. Try to apply early in the process. That doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be reviewed, but a lot of us are still reviewing all resumes at this point. Also, a great way once you've applied is reaching out, trying to find hiring contacts, trying to find people that maybe you're already connected to in that company, sending your resume, that kind of thing. You just want to engage as much as you can. Dan, I hope that was helpful. Happy to go in deeper. I'm going to bring up another question. So thank you for that. So Kimberly asked, hey, longtime listener. Thank you so much, Kimberly. First time caller. Haha. Very grateful to have found you. I was doged back in May. I'm so sorry. It's been brutal. Do you have a North Star on where to focus energies? I'm exhausted from creating iterations of my resume, cold emails, creating content, interpretive dance. So very similarly to what I said to Dan, it does get very exhausting, especially if the idea is I have to apply for everything I might be a great fit for. I find that, again, a very proactive niche focused search is more successful in the long run. It means passing on a lot of things, but then when you find something that's in that narrow wheelhouse that you've already predetermined, then you can really get, super focused on that one, and you can put more effort in. Okay. What do I mean by put more effort in? All the questions they're asking in applications now, and you're like, most of this is on my resume, but if you really want me to go deep, happy to do so in an interview. Yeah, you can't answer that way because we're using the answers of those questions, not me personally, but people are using the answers of those questions to make screening and filtering in or out choices. Okay. So answer those questions thoughtfully. One of them may be, why do you want to work here? Our first instinct is like, well, duh, I've got bills. And that's not what they're asking. That's the answer to why do you work? And we all have the same answer. And that's why we all work is bills, duh. But what they're asking is why here in this role versus there, those roles. In some people's case, it's like, well, I have to work, right? Like it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I need to eat. But that's not really going to help you get to the next stage, right? So the answer they're looking for is, what about this role and what we do, our mission aligns to you, your purpose, and your mission? And that's an easier question to answer, right? So try to bring personal anecdotes and into your answers about why it's important. I once applied for a role with a company that was doing AI neuro health things. And they were specifically focused on using AI to detect seizures and get better at understanding how epilepsy works and things like that. Well, my son was in an accident and he has seizures as a result of that car accident. And so when I applied for that role, I put a personal anecdote. Like, I not only have been working in and around AI and building generative AI since 2012, and I'm excited by disruptive innovation in general, I also have this scenario over here, and the work in this area, in this neuro focus area is dear to my heart, and I'm passionate about it because I want this area to progress for my son and others like him. And that's something that as a recruiter, we're like, okay, not only do they have the right experience and background and have been in technical, innovative, disruptive environments, but they also have a personal passion connected to what we're doing. That especially matters in younger, earlier companies, okay? Very large, very established corporations care a little less about how connected you are to their mission. It's also a little less clear what those missions are once the company becomes very large. Like Amazon started as a bookseller, and I don't know, I think they're trying to take over the world now. But anyway, the point is, connect yourself to something that matters to you, to something that matters to them. Okay. So I give people, Kimberly, I give them this guidance a lot. Think of yourself as a product marketer. Okay. And you are the product or service that is very valuable at solving a certain set of problems in the world. It's what I call your unique value proposition. Okay. And really putting on that proactive, I'm going out searching for these problems that I enjoy and I'm really good at solving and can make a really great case for that. Sometimes you may have a list of 10 companies you want to work for, especially that you found in your area, because there's a lot of going back into the office happening right now, a lot less remote opportunities now. So when you may identify 10 companies you want to work in, don't just wait for them to have a job posting. In fact, if you can express your interest in an area in that company for a very specific, clear reason, and you are clear about what problems you solve and how excited you are to solve them, you don't always have to wait for a job to be posted. Developer, when we say network, everybody interprets that as apply to a job and then reach out to a hiring manager. Well, guess what? So are the other 500 people who applied to that job also reaching out. Networking is about developing relationships that are going to benefit you before that you need them to. What does that mean? So if you, Kimberly, take on a proactive search and you're like, these are the 20 companies I'm most committed to getting into, you make your daily efforts about contacting with anyone and everyone from that company, developing friendships, relationships, connections, network in those companies, not because I just applied and I need you to look at my resume, but because when they do have a job come open, you already have those inroads, okay? So again, we live in a very transactional world and chapter of time, and that's not how networking works. So the thing about networking is if it's authentic and it's rapport driven, it's relationship driven, and I'm connecting with you, I don't have to transact with you today, tomorrow, maybe in a month, or even in a year. I don't ever have to have a transaction at all. What I'm doing is connecting with people because I value authentic connections with other human beings. So then 6 months from now, if I reach out to you, but we've already developed this relationship and I notice you have a role posted in your company, it's not going to be weird. It's not going to be inauthentic, and it's definitely not going to be needy, right? It's going to be genuine and based on, connections that we had already made. That's the mindset I want people to really think about when they're looking. So Kimberly, I'm also happy to get on a separate call and go deeper on this around your specific area. I also, if you join my community in school, which the link is in most of these event posts, but I'll also post again today. I can't post in the comments for some reason, but I will make sure that everybody has access to the school community, which there's free access to. And I will answer these. I'll give you custom job search guides. I'll give you real feedback on your resume, LinkedIn, all that stuff. So, Kimberly, thank you for the question. I hope that I helped. I will get into iterations of your resume. If you do the thing I'm talking about and focusing on a niche strategy, you probably only need 1 or 2 resumes to do that. If you find yourself, this is just a general statement, it's not always true, but generally, if you find yourself needing to create 12 different resumes, there's probably not much strategy in your approach. You're probably throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. Not that there's anything bad or wrong with that. I get it, because we need to work. But it's also not the most effective strategy. So happy to go into that more with you, Kimberly, in another space and time. Okay. So thank you for that. Lavanya. All right, we've got this one. What level of AI exposure is expected in day-to-day work? That's a really, really good question. So I think this is going to vary depending on the type of company and industry you're in. So here's what I can generally say about that. So if you were kind of aware of what's gone on over the last 20 years, the way that companies transitioned from analog processes to digital processes was very specific. There were just like people. There are the people who are the early adopters, who are always the first people trying out new technology. They don't care about bugs. They don't care about any of that. But they're just really excited to try new things because that's just who they are. I'm very much like that. I like new technology even before it's good. I want to know what it's about. Companies that are like that, right, where they're, maybe very technical, very innovative and disruptive in nature, those companies are going to be using a lot of AI early. And that would be the industries that tend to follow the early adoption curve with technology. Think marketing, advertising, sales. That's a huge swath of very early adopter types. Also, all of the companies that are there are all these companies that are tech companies, but they're spin-offs of more traditional companies. What do you mean by that, Lori? So you've got finance companies and banks. Sorry, dog's barking. So you've got finance companies and banks. They've always been here for a long time. They're very old school. They're very large. They're very slow to change and to disrupt and innovate. So out of those companies out of finance spun up fintech. Those are smaller, more technical companies that do similar things to the larger, more traditional finance companies, but they're the technical version. These are the digital versions of these companies. Like, think of all the tech banks, the digital banks that don't have branches anymore, like old school Bank of America branches, but they're a digital bank. So you do everything online. That's like the tech version of an old school industry. So the point I'm getting to is, the way I say it depends on industry. Tech companies, innovative companies, disruptive companies are going to expect you to definitely have a level of AI usage. And that can be a lot of things. Use it in your personal life. You can use it to create things. I've created a lot of business content from it as well. I've created tools to help job seekers with AI. I created a custom bot, which you don't have to have any technical or engineering experience to do at all. That's the kind of early AI adoption that, those kinds of companies are going to see. With that said, larger, more compliant focused, regulatory focused, larger companies that are much more risk averse, those companies are going to be much slower to want people adopting and using AI. In fact, they may see you as a risk. If you're very AI curious and you've been creating stuff and doing things and Claude coding and vibe coding and doing all these things, that's really cool. I think it's great. You might want to limit how much you talk about it inside of a larger, more risk averse company. But inside the startup that is building these, disruptive tools, you want to talk about that type of, exploration, exploratory work, and curiosity early. Okay. So again, it depends on the environment. It depends on the technical disruption and innovation of those organizations. Okay. I think everybody should be using it. Be careful, use it sparingly. There's very good AI use and there's very bad AI use, and kind of everything in the spectrum in between. Um, Very bad AI use is very visible. It's very noticeable. So practice, get good at it. AI as a tool is not it's not the same output for everybody. It's very contingent on the user and your ability to prompt it well, iterate well, use different tools differently. I'm happy to also, in fact, I think I want to do a whole course on AI and how you can use it and how you can adapt to it. I think that that would be a great topic. But I can go much deeper into this again inside the community. I will link that. But I think that's a really good question. I definitely think more and more I'm seeing requests for AI in job descriptions. In fact, today somebody posted one that said, we're looking for art, or the question was, are you an AI native? Which I laughed because I think you'd have to be like 5 years old to be an AI native at this point. So like none of us are actually AI native because we weren't born into AI. So it's a weird question. People are doing weird things around it, but you know, that's kind of my perspective on it. Know a lot about the org you're applying to. That really does solve for how you apply and what the strategy behind it is. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to go in deeper on that too in another space as well. So okay, let's see. I don't know who Ronnie is. I'm Lori, but I'm happy to answer your question nonetheless. Mahender. Okay, so some light on AI and employee emotions in the workplace. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. Employee emotions in the workplace. I'm old. I'm Gen X. I'm 50, and when I came up, the first half of my career, there were no emotions in the workplace. In fact, the entire, like we came to work, we left our lives at the door, left our personal lives at the door, and we didn't bring them with us. If we were going through stuff and had, emotional stuff going on, we kept that to ourselves. It was just the standard protocol. Since then, over the last 15 or so years, there's been more of this idea that we get to bring our authentic selves to work, and it's not realistic to park our emotions at the door because then we're, masking all day long, and we're probably less productive and effective because we're like, I have to be this person here, and I'm, I can go back to being who I am after 5 o'clock. that sort of started to fade away some, and that we changed the game a little bit. Um, I think we've over swung that pendulum a little. I don't think every single thing needs to be brought to work. I don't think, I think that there should be some separation, but it's really up to every individual. As long as it's not disruptive, as long as you're not taking your emotional stress out on other people, if it's affecting your work and your ability to do work, you probably should just stay home and deal with that emotional stuff. Like, I lost my dog not long ago, and I couldn't just show up, right? I needed to take some time off to get through that. So I think it's use your best judgment. Also, you're probably located elsewhere. I think, are you coming in from India? But there's also cultural and regional differences around this. And, some regions are much more cutthroat, less connected, less human. And some regions are very, very connected. And yeah, so I think it kind of depends. But it's a good question. Not sure how AI plays into that exactly. I do think that there is a good use case for AI, an AI kind of like workplace culture app where you check in and just kind of maybe kind of like, when you go to an airport and there's the bathroom and it's like smiley face button if it's clean, and frown face button if it's not clean. Well, it would be sort of similar in that, like, if you're having a great day, it can be like big smiles and you check in. That would do is show patterns over time. I think those patterns are actually valuable. I think that you can see things about your company culture and it changing, and maybe toxic elements of it, if everybody's data is aggregated and you're looking at, like, wow, all of a sudden we did this thing and everybody's mood dropped. Like, that's real information. I think I would love to see many, many, many more AI use cases where we're creating data points across lots of people over periods of time. I also think similarly that could be used to benchmark target profiles to hire, right? If we benchmark everybody in a team and we know that everybody has, certain characteristics, and those are the people who are most successful, that's something to look at. It's also, AI can be used to uncover bias. If you see large hiring patterns in certain departments that all look a little suspect, it's incredibly, like, nowadays, it's 27 years of sitting and recruiting and hiring. I see, and I have good pattern recognition because I'm ADHD kookaloo, but I see the patterns, but I can't prove them. I can't say, well, here's the data. I just know something is off. I don't know, but I know. This using AI to pick up some of that stuff and, negative bias hiring patterns, that's what we should be using AI for. So lots of thoughts and ideas around that. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. So Lavanya is asking, what tools or data sources are you relying on today? Well, it depends on for what. I mean, the great thing about all these new tools entering the market is we can do things that we couldn't easily do before. But the bad thing is all these different tools are entering the market at once, and it's noisy and chaotic. I'll give you some that I really enjoy, that I'm working with a lot. For one, I just started using StreamYard, on which I'm streaming this live. I'm new to it. I like it so far. It's easy to use. I can't believe I'm running this with no help, and I've never seen the tech before. But I think we're doing okay. So thumbs up to StreamYard. If you're interested in that also, there's a link in my post to check it out. What else? So for a CRM, I don't know who's using CRMs, but I like a CRM where I can bucket different audiences or different connections to different things, because I'm doing a lot. So I have the Rebel HR community. In my day job, I work for a staffing company. And then I'm also starting up Hire You, which is a early career, but also career transition and adaptation program that helps people get really clear on who they are, what value they bring, and where they should be applying that value. And that's Hire You. And then I also am building a community connection platform. It's like the Yelp for online communities, where it'll help you find your people out there and connect within digital communities. So with all those things, it's helpful for me to have a CRM where I can bucket into different audiences for different businesses and projects. So I use Folk. It's also very inexpensive. It's like $20 a month. And what I love about Folk is it has a LinkedIn Chrome where I can add any of you. When I'm on your profile, I can just click the add to Folk and it adds you right to the CRM. I really like that. What else? I use a lot of things. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. For outreach, I use a couple different things. There's an email, a marketing email sender that I like called Sender, SENDR. I also use Source Whale, which is specifically outbound sourcing passive candidates out there for jobs. I like both of those tools. Probably Sender is more for sending really pretty marketing emails. Source Whale is more recruiting specific to go find candidates and business. What else? Oh, AI. So AI, I use a lot of AI. I build a lot with AI. AI has created all the imagery you see, all the live AM, that thing behind me, all the stuff I've put out. AI right now. So AI is like an arms race. And one day Claude is going to be ahead, and the next day ChatGPT is going to be ahead, and then the next day Gemini is going to be ahead. Right now, ChatGPT is an amazing image creator. It wasn't before, but right now I think it's the best one there is. I think that'll change, but right now I'm loving ChatGPT for really good branded imaging. Okay. Claude is really good for deep strategy thinking. I do use both. Perplexity is good for research. What I like about Perplexity is it checks a lot of different sources and it shows you all the sources. It cites sources well. It's good for deep research. That's my kind of AI. There are a lot of other AI sub tools. There's Gamma, which makes PowerPoint presentations. I personally don't like PowerPoint presentations, so I don't really use a lot of Gamma, but a good friend of mine does, and she loves it. What else do I use? I use a lot of tools and I don't even think about it. Oh, School. I decided to build the Rebel HR community on School with a K, Skool, because it's easy to join. They don't require a lot of information for you to hop in there. It's got a freemium level, meaning like anybody can join free. But if you're in a position to support it because you want more of this good information versus these style things peddling grifty bad information, then you can support it at different levels. There's a $29 a month subscription and a $59 a month subscription. I hate asking for money, but also money does make things grow and build, and I'm able to help more people that way, which is the goal, right? Job seekers who have been out of work for a while and need help maybe can't pay for the community. So the ones of us who are working and we can support that. Also, the design of my community is not just to have job seekers, but also to have recruiters, so that we have people who have lots of questions and people who have lots of answers. Also, within that, I will have vetted inside of that, pardon. Sorry. Okay, inside of that, I will also inside of the community, I will be offering lots of tools, resources, frameworks. I'll be giving direct feedback on resumes. If you submit your resume, LinkedIn profile, I'll give you feedback on those things. All of that's available within the community. So that's School, Skool. I will be dropping links. What else? I don't know. I use a lot of tools. Those are the ones that I would say I use the most. I use some Canva for graphic stuff, although AI is kicking its tail. And I don't like to do it myself. I like Notion guides. I think Notion is a really good source to create like handbooks, things that are visually pleasing, pieces that you want to share out there. Yeah, I think that's enough for now. in terms of like job seeker tools, so I don't think LinkedIn is the best place to look for jobs because it's so there's a lot of noise out there. It's getting very scammy out there, and there's a ton more competition. So a couple job boards that I really like that maybe are underutilized. One is called Welcome to the Jungle. Let's see if I can put that out here. I think I can. Yeah. Did that work? No, it didn't. Okay, whatever. All right. So, Welcome to the Jungle is a good site. It used to be Atta.com. It's smaller companies that are less well known, but really good opportunities. Very white collar, very tech, very kind of modern companies in there. Another place that I like is builtin.com. It gives you a lot of really thorough, deep information about each company. It lets them represent themselves very well within there, but it also has a lot of jobs. Another one, if you're into like doing good and altruism, there's an effective altruism community. Within that, there's something called 80,000 hours. 80,000 hours is based on the idea that your career is going to be about 80,000 hours over your life. You might as well dedicate that time to something that's good. What does that mean? Well, the effective altruism community deals with some of the most existential challenges or crises or threats to humanity. So they deal in poverty and they deal in, thank you so much, Kimberly. They deal in poverty and they deal in things like that. So that's the 80,000 hours job board. It is very under visited, if you will, or underutilized, which means there's going to be less applicants and less competition. So those are a couple call outs that I like to share. And then there's some I would definitely stay away from. So there are some sites that they're redirection engines. Why? Because they think they get paid for clicking, pay per click. Things like Lensa, Lensa. Yeah, it'll take you to 5 different sites, and I'm pretty sure they get paid every time you click to a new one. But most of the jobs are expired that are sitting out there on that. So, and then the best resource is, again, have a very niche focused job search strategy. Like these 20 companies are the companies I'm targeting like it's my job. My job is right now a career developer for myself. And these are the 20 companies I'm targeting, and I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to engage with comments on LinkedIn. I'm going to be very visible to these 20 companies. You know, then you can just constantly visit their career pages. You can also, if you're savvy, you can set up a career search or a job search co-pilot in Claude Code or somewhere. And basically they go out and search the career pages of your 20 companies every day. So like if they post something new, you're going to know about it every day. That's before they get it out posted to LinkedIn, before they pay to put it anywhere. It goes to their career page first. Okay. That's useful and valuable. Yeah. What else? Ask me something else. I'm on a roll. I love it. I could talk all day. Let's see. Anybody have more questions or anything else? Maybe it's not a question. Maybe it's something you want me to just give more, go deeper on, a deep dive on something. Happy to do that. One thing I do love to talk about is, because people have very strong opinions on it, is AI one-way interviews. First of all, I don't think they should be called that, because technically it's not really an interview. Yes, they're asking you questions and you're answering live on video to some kind of AI. It's not an interview, it's a screening layer. It's above the first human step. Okay. And so I just think that people should be more open. I think people should try them, practice them. When you're willing to participate in that layer, you have a better shot at the job than when there isn't that layer. Why? Because 50% or more will opt out at that layer. That automatically reduces the amount of competition you have. And the most likely people to opt out are the people who have the most options. Because why would they do something they don't really want to do if they don't have to? That helps you in your search if that's one of your targets. Okay. So I definitely think people should try it. I get a ton of feedback from people about it. They are having a morality conversation with themselves about it. They feel like if a company has an AI screening layer before the human interview layer, that means they don't respect you or your time, or it means none of those things. It's a tool in a market that requires it because there's a huge uptick in volume. Applicants are using AI to mass apply while they sleep. Thus, we need an AI tool to, help filter to a reasonable number of people that we can actually vet. So it's like, my kids when they were little and they were looked at broccoli and they were like, I don't like that. And I'm like, but you haven't tried it. So how do you know you don't like broccoli? It's sort of similar in that people think they aren't going to like it. And then I challenge them in the comments and I say, well, have you ever tried one? And it's no, because they made a decision about it without being willing to check it out. So my guidance on that is to just be more open, check it out, be willing to, and certainly be open to practicing. So anyway, Kimberly asked another question. She asked, wait, what? How does Copilot do that search? So this isn't something simple necessarily. You would have to create an agent to do this. You'd have to tell it what to do, but it would be easy to create. I don't know if you've ever played with Claude Code, but you can just create an agent. And what you want that agent to do is to go to these 20 companies. I mean, this happens after you already have that very niche focused search strategy we already talked about. Once you've done that work, which I can again help with, and you have your target companies, you can build the agent to visit those 20 companies. Maybe you can even tell it how many times a day. Maybe you want it to visit 3 times a day, first thing in the morning, midday, and then in the evening to see if anything new has come up. And you only want it to bring you back roles that are somewhat relevant. Like, for example, you may tell it, okay, here's my resume. Here are all the versions of my resume, Claude. I want you to bring back roles from these 20 companies 3 times a day that I'm at least 75% qualified for. Now, is it going to know that exactly? And, of course not. But it does know close, like it gets close. That again, the same algorithmic technology that's able to rank and sort people is able to, make parallel correlation between your resume and a job description. Again, titles, all kinds of things. I also have a custom bot, which I give away to everybody. In fact, let me see if I can, I don't even think I can share it here. I'll share it. It is in school. It's also pinned to the top of my featured posts on LinkedIn. Go take it. Take my bot. My bot is already tuned and trained to do a lot of these kinds of things. But yeah, you could totally have it go and bring back the roles every day of those companies that you're a fit for. It's a very simple search. Claude Code responds to natural language processing, which means you can tell it what you want it to do. Okay, I want to create a job search agent on my behalf that goes out to these 20 companies these times a day, brings me back roles that sound like this, that align to my resume, give it some cues, right? It's a tuning process. You have to tune it and train it and then test it. And that's like I said, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'm happy to work with anyone directly to do these things and use my bot in the meantime because it can do some of this stuff. It's not going to do it automatically, but it can do it anytime you ask. So if you start a string with my bot and you use my bot to help you get to those 20 companies, you can have it like, okay, well, can you look at those career pages? Tell me if there's anything relevant right now. And then you can do it anytime you want. And you can actually probably do that with any AI. You don't need a Copilot, I don't think, to do that. But the more custom it is and the more, like if you want an agent to automatically do these things without you asking it to, that's where Claude Code comes into play. And you actually have to create an agent. That's agentic AI. Okay. But you can do a lot of it without that by just using any AI to, hey, check out these career pages. But you have to always prompt it. That's the only real difference between agentic and non. What else? I also okay, so I think I really went deep into that. And again, Padma, Lavanya, Kimberly, I'm happy to go into this much, much deeper inside a school. Just connect inside a school. It's literally there's a free level. So just come on in. Okay. And I'm going to be dropping all kinds of info. There's already a lot of useful stuff in there now. And there will only, including my bot, but there will only ever be more. And I think AI is a good course to develop, and real use cases that people can employ for their search. I think that would be a good idea. So something I think I'll do. What else? I have probably time for one more topic or one more question. Anyone want to go deep on? I'm not sure, Lavanya, what do you mean by how effective is your targeting and personalization today? From a recruiter perspective, targeting applicants and candidates, or from a job seeker perspective, targeting companies and jobs? If you could add a little more color, I could try to approach that. I'm also open to another question. So what you got? I hope this has been really helpful, by the way. And it's going to get better because this is my first one. And like I said, messy action. And I think that as we go, and we're going to do this every week, every Wednesday at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Anyone can join. Any topic can be, broached. Any question can be asked. How to connect to school. So let me see if I can try to, that's a really good one. I have the link, but it's my understanding that if I post a comment, I can't post a comment. So here's the link to, I can't even do that. Okay. Let's see if I can throw it up across the, okay, look at that. See, I'm learning in real time with you guys watching. So that's the link. It's a little long. Obviously, you can't click it from the screen. I should throw up a QR code next time so that you can just join directly from the screen. But I'll leave it up so you can write it down. It's basically just school.com/Lori the Rebel HR com -9012 /about. But you can join directly from that link. It's free. It'll just ask for your email and name and a tiny bit of context. One of the reasons I chose school is because it doesn't ask for a lot. But there. So I'm going to leave that up the whole rest of the call. Please join me in there. Again, we're going to get deeper on all of these kinds of things in there. There's only so much I can do on a 1-hour Ask Me Anything call. Also, I want to find a way to be able to bring you guys up to ask questions so we can have more discussion like style, but I don't know how to do that yet. Apparently it's not easy to do with a LinkedIn Live. So, but LinkedIn is the only place where I have a whole lot of followers. So it's made the most sense in terms of streaming there. I also, after this one, all future ones will be streamed on YouTube as well. I didn't know that I had to set that up in advance. So I will be able to stream live on YouTube in like 24 hours. So that's exciting as well. And I'm going to expand that channel too. And again, my goal is just to have a whole lot of resources for job seekers and a whole lot of vetted recruiters. The real reason that I'm starting this community is because I want to be able to say these resume writers, these career coaches, these recruiters are people you can listen to. These people are Rebel HR approved, vetted, because there are so many people out there that are an overnight resume writer, career coach. They've never been a resume writer. They've never been a career coach, and they've never been a recruiter. So what I want people to do is start taking that kind of support, coaching support, resume writing support, guidance, courses from people who have the real valid veteran expertise to offer. Okay? There's so many people out there that are offering really bad information for a cost, and they seem to be scaling that. So a bunch of us are just trying to do the same thing, but with good and valid information, good and valid resources, vetted resources. Do not hire a resume writer or a career coach who just recently started being a resume writer or career coach who doesn't have any recruiting and hiring background. Just don't. Even when you decide which recruiters to listen to for guidance, listen to people who are in your wheelhouse, from your industry, from the types of companies you're looking to be in. Don't listen to a recruiter who's recruiting in, AI company, data company for how to get into a construction company. Like they won't know. They'll answer from their point of view, ignoring that there's nuance and context that's specific to that industry. So again, this is all about better information from people who have the right information to offer. And I highly encourage you guys to join us in school. Thank you, Padma. I saw that you came through in that, and I'll definitely accept it, your request when I get out of here. Also, follow me on LinkedIn. Share this for other people who you think might get use out of it. It's going to be a lot of information, chocked full of information in an hour period every week. Okay. And again, I'm going to deal with all the topics and issues that are most controversial, most confusing and frustrating to people, and give you real guidance that you can action on. That's the goal. I really appreciate everybody joining. We are in the home stretch of the last 2 minutes. Don't forget to join school, find me on school. Don't forget to follow me and share this content on LinkedIn. Again, you'll also be able to follow me on YouTube soon, that channel. I will be sharing that out on LinkedIn and in the school community tomorrow. And I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm excited for more of this. Sorry, every time my phone rings, it interferes with. Yikes. Okay, so I'm going to get better at StreamYard, and join me on school. Join me next week for the next live AMA on Wednesday. Bring other people that you know in your network that are also confused and would like clarity on their job search. And I'm excited to see you next week. And I really appreciate everybody joining. And we're only going to get better at this and tighten it up. There's the school link. You can copy it down for another minute before this ends. And I'll also have the recorded live stream on LinkedIn inside the school, as well as on YouTube. So all the ways to find me. And I'm also going to be bringing other veteran recruiters, resume writers, and career coaches up here to answer questions as well. It won't just be me rambling all the time, but it'll be other people like me who love transparent truth and are straight no chaser. And they're going to tell you everything that you need to hear to be successful in your search. It's a tough market. My heart goes out to everybody who's struggling in it, but we can get through this, and we will. Thank you so much for joining.